As many of you guys know, Whispers in the Walls update is coming on Wednesday, December 13th. But what you may not know is there was an interview with D.E. Rebecca, aka the voice of Lotus, aka the current creative director of Warframe. And in this interview, well, let's just read along some of the highlights and give my opinions. If you'd like to read the full details of every little word in this interview, I'll actually put a link to it in the description below. And I do want to mention that I will be streaming sometime during the day on the update, as well as my channel where you can catch the stream in case you miss it. So without further ado, let's get on with it, shall we? So when she was asked to tell them a little bit about the new Warframe expansion that they shown at the Game Awards, she said, "We are announcing the launch date of Whispers in the Walls," which again we know is December 13th. This is our next kickoff of our cinematic arc. This is where we're going to be taking the game in the next 5 to 10 years, and it all starts next week. So it's interesting that she said launching the cinematic arc, meaning that presumably we'll get more cinematics, presumably there will be more Man in the Wall related stuff. I'm not sure. There's definitely Warframe 1999 in the future, but I wonder what that does mean for Warframe. But let's continue. For players who want a quick refresher so they don't go into this blind, what would you recommend to get them started? Definitely study up on the lore, but we will give them a cheat sheet. But honestly, hop in and play at your own pace. The update's not going anywhere, and it's always going to be there. You can just jump in and enjoy the Warframe, at the pace you want to play it. And honestly, I agree with this sentiment overall. I like hanging out with you guys and everything, and I'll be honest, I'm definitely going to be doing this quest and a bunch of stuff day one, so you might seem it pretty hypocritical of me to say, but, if it really suits you, feel free to hold off and do stuff at your own pace. You don't have to break your neck to get everything done in one day, even though I will again probably be getting a lot of stuff in one day, but I won't be breaking my neck. I'll be doing it because I enjoy it. Hopefully hanging out with you guys either at my stream or the recap video. There'll be a link in the description below, as well as I will probably upload some cheeky little video on the channel as well. Stay tuned to it. But anyway, can you talk a little bit about the primes that you are launching with the new expansion? Now, this is an interesting question because how she answers is, we actually had to make a business decision to move the primes. So Goss had moved to January. For those of you guys that don't know, Goss Prime is coming out in January. Apparently that was a business decision because she goes on to say, we didn't want too much at the end of the year because we have a supporter pack and other packs coming. So we wanted to phase out just how much we had. Are there any Prime reworks on the horizon. For Prime reworks, we have no hard plans. Well, we have some plans, but we're not ready to talk about them yet. We want to be very strategic with who we rework next year. So that sounds to me like they do have some potential ideas, but they aren't sure yet who's getting a rework next. So that's going to be interesting. Is there a list that Warframe fans are talking about when it comes to the primes in need the most of a rework? Yes, I know what we're doing. I've talked about it, but we're not ready to say exactly under what update or how we're going to approach it. But we are absolutely doing one next year. Yeah, I got that from the last answer, so that is interesting. What frame would you guys like to see reworked the most? Let me know comment section below. Okay, it said right now the base device does say progress after every wave or round. So they, as in the people, are curious if endless missions in the circuit would do this. And the answer was, right now, circuit is an all-or-nothing gamble. We don't love that. We do intend to investigate sometime next year how quickly we could release progress save. Honestly, it's on our to-do list. It's just a matter of when. The next question is going to be interesting. It's an Archon Shard question. With the addition of the new Archon Shards, I believe you're bringing up the total to 6, if I'm not mistaken. Are there any plans to rebalance bile for shard removal? For those of you guys that don't know, it costs an insane amount of bile to remove Archon shards from Warframe. So unless you have a bunch of stockpile stuff, it's not really worth it to remove the Archon shards from Warframes at this time. But she goes on to say, yeah, actually, in the Whispers in the Wilds update, we're reducing the amount of bile needed. So absolutely, yes. Are there any plans for more Archon adapters, or rather Incarnate adapters? She goes on to say, yes, there are. We intend to ship 5 next year. We just don't know when. Okay, fair enough. In your personal opinion, have there been any games really this year that could inspire mechanics for Warframe? And then the answer is Baldur's Gate 3, no further comments. Does that mean like we could get more like a roll the dice type mechanic system, or dating in Warframe, or I don't know. I don't even know. So many speculations. I wonder what it could be. But moving on, is there any chance of Yoreli being able to cast Helmet's abilities while riding, her companion, aka her K-Drive? And the answer is no, we've decided not to do that. So we're not going to support it, which means that other frames that you can't do certain things while in their abilities with helmet abilities probably won't be supported either. So you probably will have Grendel while he's in his meatball helmet thing not supported. And then we also probably will have the case of Varuna while she's in her 4 not supported with any helmet ability. So that's That's not great to hear, but it is what it is. And then when asked about the third Orb Mother, for those of you guys that don't know, there are three Orb Mothers in Verona. We got the first one almost immediately, and then like maybe a year or two later, something like that, we got the second Orb Mother, and now we're going to get the third one eventually. Maybe, because the answer implies that we might. It says, well, that's a tricky one. I would love to answer it today, but I'll say, ask me next year. She was asked, what about modular arc wings? The answer was, we have no vision for that. It's a shame that all that content was made. We would love to do something with it, but we have zero designs to support it. For those of you guys that don't know, DE Steve and Scott and some other devs actually mentioned that this was a feature that they would have liked to do, but it ended up not being the case, and apparently it will never be the case. She goes on to be asked any plans to add Railjack to the open world of Warframe, and her answer is interesting. She says, kind of. We've done prototypes of how you can fly it around above the open world. It feels cool, but from an actual update where that happens, no plans yet. Prototype only. So that's interesting. I'd like to know, comment section below. Would you guys be interested in flying your Railjacks in an open world in Warframe? Is that something that interests you at all? Let me know your thoughts, comment section below. Going back to the Divari decrees, there's been a lot of positive reception around the persistent. Going back to the Divari decrees, there's been a lot of positive reception. Is there any possibility of seeing some more of them reintroduced into the mainline content? And she goes on to say, I would say no unless there's a reason. Right now, Divari is Divari, and there's not going to be a stream cross anytime soon. Now, this is an interesting answer because this is something I forgot that I did want. When Divari Paradox launched, the decrees were so awesome, I was like, hey, why can't we get the decrees in the main game? Like, I wanted even a potential mod that could absorb one decree per day or something. I thought that would be pretty awesome, but apparently no, there's not enough demand for it, because she said unless there's a reason, which I assume enough demand would be a reason, but there's simply not enough demand, which is a shame. Any fixes you can talk about that are in the works for Divari host migrations? She answers, well, if we let you save all your progress, the host migrations become a lot less lethal. So let's do that first. I would say we have some housekeeping to do. Can you talk a little bit about the story of Warframe 1999? No, watch TennoCon next year. Fun fact, TennoCon 2024 has been announced already. I have a whole video talking about that. Any plans to rebalance old weapons, or at least add in new incarnate adapters? She says, yeah, we would probably go the incarnate route, and we do plan on doing that. So I truly, from this, I'm noticing a theme, which is with some quote-unquote end-game content. Incarnate adapters count as end-game in my mind because for those of you guys that don't know, you actually need to have completed every mission in the Star Trek to unlock the Steel Path, because Steel Path is currently the only way you can get incarnate adapters from the circuit, mind you. When asked, are you going to make Stalker accessible from the arsenal and playable everywhere like other Warframes, she replies, we do have plans for the Stalker for the next year, and we will be sharing those plans within the next 3 to 4 months, but not that specifically, but there will be things. Now, here's a question that I did not think of, honestly, and it seems interesting. When asked, will players get a form of focus scores for companions, she says, no, we have no plans for that, but we do have another big part of our companion rework. Now, unfortunately, that wouldn't mean Smeeta's getting nerfed. I know, it had to happen at some point, but it doesn't mean I can't be sad about it, okay? So let's move on. The final Warframe directly related question she was asked is, any plans or suggestions for more broken weapons, like how the broken incarnate changes is a type like a dagger and so forth? And she goes on to say, no, we're focusing more on the incarnate, I think. Now, those are all the questions she was asked about Warframe in specific, but she was asked questions about herself. So I'm going to go over those real quick. Since you've taken up the role of being the lead on Warframe, what aspect of the new job and role had surprised you the most? Her answer was, how much pressure there is. I don't think I get a good night's sleep anymore because I feel like I'm responsible as a team lead, but also as someone that loves the game. I don't want to disappoint anyone, least of all myself. So it's just very emotionally different. Which frankly, it's something I can understand, and I do personally like the fact that she is a gamer herself, so she can understand some of the reasons people may not want everything nerfed into the ground or buffed up beyond measure. And then she was asked, has Scott, former Warframe director, had enough time to step away from the project and finish rebuilding his truck? Okay. He says, yes, it's done. He sent me a video of his family driving it. It's amazing. For those of you guys that don't know, there was this ongoing thing about Scott building his truck, constantly building his truck. So it's nice to hear that it is actually done. Now, it says, awesome. Has Digital Extremes ever considered branding out to another merchandise like food and drinks, such as, say, Lotus Tea? She says, I wish we actually have like a weird tea here, but yeah, no, maybe I would ask someone to do that and hope that they did it. Technically, Warframe did make some coffee at some point, but I'm not entirely sure if that was just a limited time thing. So, oh. Little Duck, who was originally from the Warframe Ghouls graphics novel, was introduced with Misuki and others. I'm probably butchering that name. I don't know of that name because Wolfram did do some graphic novel related stuff, so that's interesting. But then she answers, unfortunately for the fans of the character, probably not to the appearing in game. But it would be interesting if they did call back to the graphic novel, because for those of you guys that don't know, at some point Warframe did try to expand to a graphic novel type thing, but ultimately that was scrapped so they could focus more on the game. Which is interesting because the next question is, are there any plans for exploring the Warframe setting in more external media, such as delving into comics again? Her response is, I would love that, and yes. We're not working with a comic house, but I really want to do a web comic next year. Is there a specific Easter egg or something that you're so passionate about you want fans to look forward to in Whispers in the Wall? She replies, we kind of treated it very much in the series update. So there's not a lot of hints, but there are a couple of lines that some of the characters say. So listen to the characters. Listen to the whispers in the walls. Okay, I had to say that. Lastly, will we get another musical number? She replies, yes, I hope so. We have plans, and part of being in LA is like, how can we do something wild for Warframe 1999? I would hope that if everything goes according to plan, music is the soul of next year. And that is everything. Definitely let me know your thoughts, comment section below. If you made it to the end of the video, hopefully you enjoyed everything you heard. And with that said, I will catch you guys in the future. Later.